Your sleep cocoon looks fluffy. Hey, I've now finished the first season of The Owl House, which people have been pestering me about forever. No matter how many times I told you, I can't see it until it comes streaming onto Disney Plus. And even when it started, I didn't burn through it right away because I watched it with my kid. And I decided I didn't want to blast ahead of her. I wanted to experience watching it with her. She loves it, by the way. I quite enjoy it too. I'm not going to talk spoilers, I don't think. If I go that direction, I'll give you a warning. But if I were to give you the elevator pitch for this, it is Harry Potter by way of Gravity Falls. And given that I've kind of been aching for an alternative to Harry Potter, yeah, this will do nicely. It's getting a second season. That's been confirmed. So we have the story of this young girl named Luce who finds her way accidentally into this world of magic called the Burning Isles, where she meets a witch named Ida. Well, Idalin goes by Ida, and who lives in the Owl House. And Luce has, she's a fantasy nerd, basically. So she's supposed to be off at camp, as far as her mom knows. But she's like, oh no, I'm staying here and I'm learning about this. And so you have her relationship with Idalin. You have eventually her trying to get enrolled at the local school to maybe learn magic, making some friends in association with that, some potential enemies in association with that, some people kind of falling in the middle a little bit. I think you know who I'm talking about if you've seen the show. And there's a lot of funny. The Burning Isles are wonderfully bizarre. That was a big part of why I did the Gravity Falls comparison, in addition to the fact that Alex Hirsch does a number of the voices, so I was getting Gravity Falls vibes anyways. So it embraces the oddity, which is always something I deeply appreciate. It was one of the things I really liked about Gravity Falls. When a concept gives creators free reign to go nuts, I appreciate it when they actually do, as opposed to defaulting to a more or less familiar world with a couple of bits of weirdness about it. A more completely bizarre world where everything is at least slightly off from what we understand. I appreciate the work that goes into that way, way more. And this definitely has that. The characters are also a lot of fun. Luce, especially for the protagonist of this kinds of show, oftentimes these kinds of protagonists can be a little bit blank slate-ish. I'm going to keep making the comparison. Harry Potter was, for I'd say the first 3 books or so, he was a little bit of a blank slate character. He really started to come into his own more a little bit later on. But Luce, right off the bat, definitely has her own personality. Her level of enthusiasm is wonderfully infectious, and you can actually watch it rub off on the other characters around her as the show goes on, which is a heck of a lot of fun. But she's overflowing with personality, which is really nice to see in a show like this, because so often in normal person in bizarre world stories, the normal person is as normal as possible, bordering on bland. Luce is not. For Ida, she's a con woman, and she's very entertaining as that. She is a wanted woman. She does not obey the laws. She's supposed to be in a coven. She's supposed to be on a restriction of what kind of magic she can do. She hasn't joined a coven, and she does whatever magic she dang well pleases, which is not how things are supposed to go down around here. So she is a wanted woman. She has that wonderful sort of, I don't really care, except she kind of does thing going on, which it's a character archetype I appreciate. Then there's King. King is my daughter's favorite character. He might be mine. He's up there, certainly. King, he claims to be. There's actually no real evidence that this is the truth, but he claims to be the king of all demons. He's this little... Well, what he looks like is he looks like a cross between a wolf and a Cubone, the Pokemon, because he's kind of got a general wolf shape, and he's got like a collar with a big gold name tag thing on it. But he's also got a skull that isn't like his because it's covering enough of his head that you can't see his mouth move because it's underneath the skull. And he just does. He's always flitting back and forth between I am the Lord of Darkness and all demons, and that line I quoted at the beginning when he sees Luce in a sleeping bag. Your sleep cocoon looks fluffy. Oh, he's so adorable. He does have those sort of pet dog qualities to him, which are wonderfully at odds with his personality otherwise. He's like, I don't know. Imagine if Bender from Futurama was a cat. And like did legitimately enjoy curling up in your lap from time to time. That's kind of the vibe coming off King. So he's a lot of fun. There's Hootie, who's the house. Sort of, not exactly. Hootie is this house demon who is the door knocker, and it's an owl head, but it like stretches out. And it's very strange. Like, it makes perfect sense visually. Trying to explain it is weird. But Hootie's going to be what I start to point to for the right way. Because I've brought this up, I can't even count how many times. There's the classic error of creating a character who is intended to be annoying to the other characters in your story. It's almost always a mistake because if the character is annoying to the other characters, they're almost definitely going to be annoying to the reader, viewer, whatever, as well. Hootie's not, because we get just the right dosage of him. I think any more of Hootie than we get in any given episode would have grated and would have started annoying, but he's in there just enough to get a laugh out of him, but you also see just enough of his dynamic with the other characters to get why pretty much everybody else finds him kind of irritating. Again, I'm just going to pull a line because I can actually do a Hootie voice. My first word was hoot. My second word was hoot hoot. And my third word, and he just gets cut off. I can't even take it. So, like, it's just the right amount of annoying, but they cut him off before he overstays his welcome. It's pretty well done. And then there's a whole bunch of supporting characters. There's the character of Lilith, who is the head of the Emperor's Coven. So yes, there's an emperor. No prize for thinking that he's some sort of antagonistic figure, because how many good emperors are there in fantasy or sci-fi stories? Like maybe Mulan, but that's arguably historical. So, like, if you're an emperor, I'm immediately suspicious of you, just on principle. I think most people are. But at the local school, speaking of principal, there is the Principal Bump, who has this hat that looks like it's just a demon who's chomping the top half of his head. And I was kind of hoping that what will eventually be confirmed is that the little demon on the head actually is Bump, and like the rest is just something he's half possessing. That never gets confirmed, but I'm going to choose to believe that as headcanon regardless. And there are the people that Luce meets at the school, the mainly being Willow, Gus, and Amity. Amity, okay, I am going to have to talk spoilers a little bit, specifically about Amity and where things go in relation to her, but I'm not going to do it quite yet. We'll get there. So there's, a fun friend dynamic. Luce really builds a pretty complete community for herself. She has a home life with Ida and with King, and she has friends outside of that. And all this develops pretty quickly, largely owing to how little Luce needs explained to her. Like, mostly what she needs explained to her is when she leaps to a conclusion because she thinks she knows what the fantasy trope she's encountered is, and they're like, no, actually, this is what's going on. But because she's so excited to be here, she's never going, what? Huh? I don't understand, which, again, just gives her a heck of a lot more personality than you usually get out of these kinds of protagonists. It's a lot of fun. It's fun. It's funny. It is at times, usually in the designs of some of the monsters, a little bit on the creepy side. Not quite to Gravity Falls Season 2 levels, but it's up there at points. It's just good. It's good. My daughter loved it instantly. First episode, she was in love with the thing. I think we got through the whole thing in 4 viewing sessions. She adored it. And I thought it was a lot of fun, too. Might not have even been 4. Might have just been 3. We burned through this thing. So I do definitely recommend it. If you have Disney Plus, you can now stream it. So go forth and do so. If you want to avoid spoilers, this is your time to leave. Because I do need to talk about something that is, I know, also one of the reasons that people were pushing me to watch this. Did you leave? I hope you did. If you don't want spoilers. Amity has a crush on Luce. I really like that. I like it in principle, and I like the way it's handled. Now, I kind of wish that I hadn't known in advance. I don't think it was spoiled by anyone who tried to put me on the show, but somewhere along the line, I knew that there was a same-sex attraction somewhere, and I knew that Amity was involved. So I didn't necessarily know that it was Amity crushing on Luce, and I didn't know that they didn't really properly get together yet by the end of this thing. They're headed in that direction, but not fully as yet. But I knew it was the two of them in some fashion, so I was keeping an eye on both of them. So I caught the early signs of Amity, getting a little flustered around Luce, blushing, stammering. And the reveal is done so sweetly with this note wanting to invite someone to Grom, which is kind of like prom, except there's also a nightmare demon. It's complicated. But the note gets ripped in half, and Luce only sees the half that says, "Will you come with me? Will you be my date to Grom?" And Luce doesn't see the other half of the note that got torn off that said, "Dear Luce." But the audience gets to see that. And it's really nice watching this adorable crush play out. Because again, much like one of the things I love about She-Ra, the fact that it is a girl crushing on a girl is not an issue. It's played the same as any crush would be in a show like this, which is just mwah. That's what I want to see. If this stuff's going to be here, I want to see it played the same, not done different, just because it's two people of the same gender. So that's really nice. I definitely do appreciate that. And the show later on also has some interesting things about things like trauma and damage and the grudges and the feelings that get left behind, and sometimes can happen when you don't deal with what caused them, or in some cases if you don't properly know what caused them. You know there's damage, but you don't entirely know why. There's some good work done there as well. It doesn't delve into that super deep. This is still for kids, but it is there. It's present, and it's present in a thoughtful way, with things like Amity and Luce having to go inside of Willow's mind to repair her memories, or what we find out at the end in relation to Ida and Lilith, who's actually her sister. The notions of early damage and the reverberations of that, it's well-handled stuff. I can't wait for another season of this. And it's also going to be really tough because it's going to be months between when it airs on Disney whatever, Disney XD, I think it is that it airs on. It's going to be months between when that happens and when it shows up on Disney Plus and I can actually watch it. So that's going to drive me crazy. But I am looking forward to it. I really enjoyed this. The Owl House. Have you seen it? What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. I have a Patreon, which is how I pay my bills and how I am able to afford things like Disney Plus, so I can share this with my kid. So please support me there if you can. Even if you can't, the likes, the shares, the subscribes, they all help me out as well, but you also don't have to. No pressure. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so come on back next time you need a break.